We're about to rehouse my C lividum or cobalt blue. I've been waiting to do this for a little while because it's probably not going to be a lot of fun. We are going to use the flood method, so I have plenty of water over here. And basically with the flood method, if you have a tarantula that burrows, one of the techniques you can use is you pour water down, which floods the lower levels of the burrows and hopefully sends the spider up. Now, I've done this a couple times with mixed results. Originally, she had 2 entrances to her burrows, which is ideal because you pour water down one entrance and they shoot up the other. Now we're not so sure. We just did a little poking around before we started. So we'll see how this one goes. I've had it go not horribly wrong, but wrong to the point where I ended up having to dig out a spider that was in mud, which is not a lot of fun, which is why I don't use this method very often. But I do think with the size of this container and the fact that she at least originally had 2 burrow entrances, this should work pretty well. So here we go. Here's the main burrow entrance over here. I'm going to get the water dish out of the way. I'm going to get this out of the way. I believe now the cork is here. Yeah, so she's covered up the other burrow. So what we're going to do is we're going to pour the water in. Hopefully she'll shoot up the burrow, up the side over here. I have my catch cup ready. That should work. Famous last words. All right, here we go. There it goes. You can see better than I can. Do you want to flip on the light for that? Actually, it will help me probably. All right, well, it's going to be fun. So I've been asked a couple times why I don't use this method, and I've heard people say it's easier. It's easy when it works. When it doesn't work, you end up with something like this with about a gallon of water in your substrate and a spider that doesn't want to come up. So we take a peek for a minute and see. No, that burrow is completely flooded and she's not coming up. So now we have a mess.
We not do this again.
No, I'm never doing this again. This is exactly what happened the first time I did it, and it becomes a nightmare. So here we go.
Jesus God.
Well, they can breathe fine. Watch your mouth. And away we go. Now, I'm not going to be able to see Jack. Oh, okay, she's good now. She's not going to be happy, though. You just tell me if she comes out anywhere other than that hole right there.
Okay.
My hand's precariously close to this. I'm guessing she's not going to be happy. Alright, you know what? This is exactly what happened the first time I did it.
Do you know where she is?
I'm guessing underneath there. Let's get this stuff out of the way. Hopefully she's not in this mess. All right, for now
It's
on.
dry there too.
Yeah. Well, what probably happened is she hunkered down. This is the thing. I think. Just make sure she's not in here, which would be pretty crappy.
Yeah, she jumps up on the edge of this thing. I'm gonna.
Well, you just get ready to move. Well, it's a nice muddy dirt here. The good thing is this dirt has stayed really, really well. Okay, I'm going to flip this. Oh. Try to let this slide down. I think she's probably got a web. Yeah, you can see the webbing. All right. There she is. All right. Actually, I'm kind of glad this happened because I've had a couple conversations with people that have come on and said, why don't you just flood it? It works great. And maybe it works. I think when it works great, it's fantastic. Even the last one we did that worked fairly well, the Crassipes, didn't work particularly great. And she's right in there. And I'm going to guess she's not going to be happy with me when she comes out. So again, with the flood method, the idea is you pour the water in, the tarantula comes up. The issue we've had is that in the past, it doesn't always work out that way. This is exactly what happened the first time I tried it and why I haven't used it in a couple of years very often. It looks great on paper, but when the tarantula doesn't surface, and again, they can breathe fine. They don't need to breathe at all for a while, so this isn't very alarming for them. They just kind of hunker down in their web enclosures, but not a lot of fun for the keeper trying to get the tarantula out. I'm going to try to just carefully slide down some of the dirt. This is going to be fun.
Why don't you just take the cage and put it upside down in the cage?
Because I don't want to dump it for her to fall that far. This is mud.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Do all this out and then I'll get the cup in there and try to get it. Should we get one of the smaller ones in? Just be very, very careful here. She's not looking too happy here. And she's upside down. Oh man. You know, again, just answered something the other day where somebody contacted me and said they watch my rehousing videos, but it's easier to flood. I'm like, well, not for me. So this at least illustrates it. All right. Somebody actually recommended the plastic cutting boards they sell at Walmart for this. What? So I'm gonna try that out eventually.
Oh, she's moving it. Like
Yeah, she's fine.
You said she was upside down a little.
No, she was. She was completely disoriented. I just flooded her whole home, and that's it. All right, so there's the poor girl right now. Let me just pop that open just a little here. And actually, that's a good way to get bitten on the thumb, so we won't do that. We'll just go ahead and drop her in here. And if you want to bring her over here. So what I have here, just to explain, I'm switching a lot of my enclosures out from the Sterilite ones. I found these giant critter keepers. I get them on, was it Pet Mountain? And I get them for a decent price. I think they're like 14 bucks each, 13 bucks each. So obviously more expensive than the Sterilite, but they're so clear. I alter the tops, which a buddy of mine told me that I should try using the stuff they put around the windows, which I think is a great idea. I've been using duct tape, but it works great, covers them off. I can control the ventilation, and it kind of matches. So she's got probably about 7 inches of substrate here to dig in. It's moist. These guys need it moist. and I threw a little plastic plant in to make it look pretty, but in theory, she's going to go down there, dig a new burrow, and hopefully this will be her home for the time being. Now, I've heard people talk about keeping these guys terrestrially, and here's the deal with it. Ideally, they should be kept with room to dig. If you don't give them room to dig, what happens is if I have a short enclosure, this enclosure essentially becomes her burrow. So if she's only got a couple inches of substrate, this enclosure becomes her burrow. So every time you open the top to feed them, that's basically ripping the top off her burrow. So they get very, very defensive. So if you keep them terrestrially, expect a much more defensive spider. This one I've kept like this, or with a lot of substrate to dig in since I've had her, and I've had no issues. She's been a sweetheart. Even the one time I actually caught her roaming above the surface, she was completely fine. So just a word of caution, if you keep them terrestrially, you're going to have a spider that's jacked up every single time you pull the top off of that enclosure, because to them, that's like somebody coming in and ripping your house off, the roof of your house off. So here we go. We're going to go. Hope she doesn't bolt. If you want to zoom in on her while I get the lid ready. Not very happy girl, but there she is, looking a little dull, probably in, is the light on?
Yeah.
Oh man. So C. lividum, or cobalt blue. When I got this one, she was a little teeny sling, and I had her a 32-ounce dilly cup of moist substrate. We moved her into that container, which was about a gallon, I think, gallon and a half or so. I'll look afterwards. I think it's 8 quarts. And now she's still probably a little small for this enclosure, but that old enclosure was kind of small. I want to give her some room to grow, and this will give her a couple molts to become a mature female and have plenty of room in. So hopefully what will happen after is she'll go for this burrow right here. I will update afterwards or put notes afterwards about how she is, because I'm sure there's people going to be concerned that she drowned. She did not drown. If you do the time, it's only a couple minutes she was in there, and she was actually in a webbed part of the enclosure that probably protected her from most of the water. But again, this is why I will not be using the flood method anymore, because quite frankly, it doesn't work most of the time, at least for me. I'm sure other people will come out there and say they use it great. That's awesome. It hasn't worked particularly well for me. It's been a crapshoot, 50-50. So there she is, looking good. I'm going to poke her in the butt. Actually, now let's just leave her alone. I want her to go toward that thing, but C. lividum, and one heck of a mess of a transfer. They can't all go well. We have really good luck overall.